So I began by working on a smooth cartridge paper so I could get crisp lines and edges, and these hard transitions of tone are going to be quite important when depicting a shiny surface such as glass. If you have a textured paper, they're going to be harder to achieve. And I was working in a 3B clutch pencil that was really sharp, so I was able to get some nice clear lines, but I'm also working quite lightly on the paper. I'm not pressing hard at all. And you can see me use the side of the pencil so I don't indent the paper, and that allows me to rub out and make changes later on if I want to. So I did my outline and blocked in some of the most basic tones so I've got an idea of where the darkest tones are. And then quite early on I began putting in some of the background tone as well. And of course that's really important if you're doing any tonal drawing, as it allows you to have the tone on your object relating to something. And even more so with the glass subject, because it's going to allow me to do some nice lost and found edges. So I don't want to have a boundary line around the object, as I want to be able to create the appearance of translucency. And then I softened all the pencil marks with a blending stump and got rid of some of the hatching lines and switched to an 8B pencil to add some really dark tone. And once I'd worked with the 8B, I then switched to a B pencil and blocked over all of that tone to get rid of some of the soft texture, because I want to create tone that looked very flat. And then you can see me work again with the blending stump and with a pencil eraser. And I really did quite a lot of work here with rubbing out and using the eraser pencil, and I completely lost some of the edges of the jar, particularly around the top left-hand shoulder. And I also used the eraser to try and create the impression of the highlights and the light bouncing off the surface of the glass. So I took the tone back to the white paper in some places, and I also dragged the rubber through the pencil that was on the page to try and move it around a little bit. And I was trying to create the impression of the distortion and the way that we saw the objects that were inside the glass jar. And there's some nice little very small highlights that cut through the dark shape of the pencil, and I tried to drag the dark tone onto the lighter areas to emphasise that distortion. And it's quite nice when you're working in pencil to have some areas of definition where you can see the pencil marks and the hatching lines, but I also wanted to create contrast in this drawing of the way the pencil sat on the paper, and so some of the tone is much softer and trying to create a sort of slipperiness about it. And I continued to work in a variety of pencils, including a 2H pencil, and I was switching between the stump, the eraser and the pencil, trying to create lots of different types of contrast. And I slow down the film at the very end here just so you can see a few of the things I did, particularly working on the front edge of the screw top. So I wanted to have lots of definition and lots of high contrast here to pull it away from the drawing, and in that contrast with the back edge of that top ellipse where the tone is very soft and close to the tone on the paper. And then at the very end again, I just picked up the eraser pencil and kind of skated across the surface and tried to emphasise or echo that idea of light bouncing off the glass.